Welcome to episode 208 of the Watchin It podcast. On today's show, the final 2 episodes of Fallout. He has a theoretical degree in medicine. And am I the asshole for divorcing my wife because she wants to blow up the world? I'm your host, Robert, and with me is Donnell. Oh.
We've made it.
Yeah.
I now have as much knowledge as you do, Robert.
Excellent.
I've seen all the episodes. I mean, this series, something else.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
But let's get to it.
Let's get into it.
The radio.
The radio.
Episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, searching for bullets. That would be... Suck.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the name of the armor that they have on, but that's like iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
that's more iconic to me than like the T-45 or T-60.
Oh, yeah.
Armor.
I mean, and as soon as I saw it, I mean, because it's on the cover of New Vegas.
Yeah.
You get wearing that out. And then, yeah, it's just a kick-ass set. I mean, don't get me wrong, power armor is nice and all, but you need fusing cores for that. So when I get out, I want to still be looking baller.
I saw somebody say like the most unrealistic thing about this show is that the fusion cores are lasting more than an hour.
Yeah, I totally was thinking that when later on when he stills it and he's like got this, he's like, oh, they won't survive. I'm like, you tell me they've only had one fusion core this whole time and they're still alive. No, they were dead a long time ago. But yeah, so we start out with these two guys doing some sifting through this dirt to find bullets or other things. I wrote down, and I'm really glad this wasn't the case. I was like, we're not introducing a new character we got to keep track of in the last 2 episodes of the series. I was like, don't you be like, this is Frank and he's important. We're now going to stick with Frank for a bit. I was like, please don't be. And luckily, no.
So we got a father and son duo here. Father played by Eric Estrada. Fucking Chips, man.
I was like, I watched so much Chips as a kid.
This is my favorite like random cameo.
Yes.
I'm like, yes.
I was very much. I was like, is that what? Why
and he is not
here?
phoning it in.
No.
It was
a great cameo of Eric Estrada. I was like, he's doing well. I do have questions about this father and son duo, though. I'm like first I thought it was his wife, and then it turns out to be his daughter when he gets home. And I'm like, you're living in the apocalypse. You're living in Fallout apocalypse. You can't trust anybody.
Yeah.
You're living out on your own.
Yeah, in the wasteland.
And I'm like, you left your daughter home alone? Like, what the?
Well, they were just outside, right?
Yeah, they seemed like they were a little ways away because they were, I don't know, I thought they had to walk a little bit.
I thought they were just outside the place.
Maybe they were. If that's the case, all right, a little bit more forgiving, but I thought they like went off to do some work, come home to the daughter, and I'm just like, no. I mean, having a family in the wasteland is rough, but you definitely don't keep that family by leaving your daughter home alone.
Yeah.
This is the wasteland.
I do like the line from the ghoul that he's like, I've got some of your metal in me. Like,
got some of your metal in me. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming. Dad seems very peaceful now, but I'm like, what's Dad's past?
No, he's definitely got a past.
I feel like he's
because they know each other.
Yeah, they know each other.
Yeah.
I feel like he's either like a bounty hunter who worked with the ghoul, or maybe betrayed the ghoul, or maybe was sent after the ghoul. Like I mean, at the beginning of this, the ghoul had been captured somehow and was in a grave. Like maybe this is the guy who did it.
There
you
you
know.
There you go.
And now he's out here just trying to live his life. But we the ghoul has come. I like that he kind of, for a second, like they think he's eating the daughter. And he's like, what? You thought I was? No. But yeah, we find out that this guy's son was one of the guys at...
Not the kid that's there, but the other, older son.
His older son was one of the guys who Moldova had sent to get him. And the ghoul had... killed him, as he does. And basically, he knows that the other son, who is alive, the younger son, was involved.
Yeah.
Has
handling the money
without the father's knowledge. I mean, the dad's just trying. He is committed to this.
He's got the good life out in the wasteland. This seems like a pretty chill life.
Yeah. Pretty chill, yeah, I guess. I mean, the son didn't make any sense. He's like, I'm tired of starving, barely keeping it together.
Child rebellion, teenage rebellion, just like you usually get.
But yeah. So he gets the information, and then this is where I'm just like, the kid's name is Tommy, and I was just like, I don't like your dad is visibly scared of this man.
Yeah.
He's killed your brother. He's made it very clear. He has the upper hand. He has the gun already drawn. He made it very clear, and he even has already stated, like, he's like, how do I know, Tommy's not going to want to come back? Maybe not today, some other day. I'm just like, Tommy, what, just like, if there's any time to capitulate and just be like, no.
You just sit down. Yeah.
You just sit down. Kid. He is a stupid kid. Yeah. I wrote that down. I was like, this kid is just
But
dumb.
I don't understand why he leaves the dad alive.
Yeah.
Because, like, he doesn't think the dad's going to be like, okay, well, my kids are dead.
Well, one is, I don't know if the son was dead. It looked like the ghoul shot him in the arm.
Oh, no, I thought he shot him in the chest.
They never confirmed it. Like, that's the thing, is like the dad is holding his son, and he never confirms it. The daughter's still alive, though. He hasn't lost all his
Look, you got to kill the bloodline, okay?
Yeah,
you got to kill the bloodline.
I mean, I'm just saying, he didn't kill all the kids, so maybe dad is...
No, season 2 is going to be the dad, like Eric Estrada, pulling out the box under the bed with his hatchet and his
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good times. Anyway, we get fast forward to the past, where he's at I hate to call it a communist meeting.
Yeah, I mean, even Moldova,
that's what they keep calling it in the show. But
I was gonna say, yeah, even Moldova is like, they just call us because that makes it easier for them to deal with us.
Yeah,
but yeah, basically just had a meeting where they're calling out Vault-Tec.
Yep,
and rightly so. We learn a little bit later, but anyways, calling out Vault-Tec and very, very much. I just like how much this show is just like paralleling real life. It's like talking about like Vault-Tec controls over 90%. Is that really like? And I'm just like, hey, there are a couple companies doing that in this day.
Well, I mean, this is heralding back to like the 40s, 50s. Like before trust busting happened and all that stuff. There was a point in which like all the phone service in the country was owned by one company.
AT&T was the big dog on campus. I was actually watching the thing that was talking about AT&T, and they're talking about the other big company that got busted up, and I didn't realize this. At one point, I mean, I knew IBM was big, but at one point, IBM had both. They didn't own, but basically they were subcontracted and couldn't do their own thing. They both Microsoft and the beginnings of Apple like locked under them contractually, and they're saying like if this had happened, Microsoft would have never been able to reach out on its own and make its own operating system, and that Apple would never be able to make its own machines. And I was like, oh, I knew IBM was big. I had no idea it basically had a monopoly on computing.
Have you ever seen *Halt and Catch Fire*?
Mm-mm.
That's a fantastic show you should check out. It's a dramatization of the 80s and 90s computer boom. It's basically kind of following a character like Steve Jobs and one that's like, and all that stuff, like kind of trying to build things. And they have an example of that where like IBM comes in and like their guy shows up to be like, hey, you guys have to stop developing this piece of software and you're crossing on our copyright. And they show up with 400 lawyers.
Yeah.
And that's what IBM would do is they would just walk in with 400 lawyers and just be like, would you like to come up and do you have enough money to fight us, or are you just going to quit? Because here, I got 400 lawyers. How many lawyers you got?
Yeah, what you got?
Yeah,
what you got?
We're willing to spend billions of dollars. You don't have billions of dollars to spend here. Yeah. Anyway, excellent show, fantastic show. Everyone should go check out *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we get Moldova's backstory that she was part of a company that was coming out with Cold Fusion, which is just another time where I'm like, man, the Fallout is just so far ahead of us and yet so far behind us. Like when you look like. All the cars look old-fashioned. They dress old-fashioned, but their technology is years ahead of us. It's like this weird. But yeah, he developed Cold Fusion, and Vault-Tec essentially just bought it up.
Yep, and hid it away.
Put it in a killer.
Yeah, it's just like a cancer drug, that cures cancer. Yep. No, you need to make money off the treatment.
Yeah. If you cure it, there goes your pipeline. And basically,
I'm surprised nobody shut down Moderna yet. Like they got that mRNA vaccine that they just came out with one that I think cures brain cancer or something.
Yeah,
like geez.
But yeah, she basically tries to get Coop on her side, giving him a listening device, and then I guess plants enough seeds because he does take it with him and stuff, but he says he's not going to. But I wrote this down, and eventually we see that he goes with her to the office and stuff. Because originally,
the only reason he goes with her to the office is because there's a range to this listening device.
Yeah. But that was my thing, because my whole thing. I was like, Coop's wife doesn't tell him anything at home. He's not going to get him. So at first, when I just thought it was like, oh yeah, listen to her at home. I was like, you're just going to hear her talking to their daughter about the plants or whatever. I was like, there's nothing valuable happening there. But anyways.
I mean, I don't understand later on. She finds out that she's like, oh, yeah, there's something wrong with my Pip-Boy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's constantly streaming.
Yeah. And then you go
And then
into
you're
the
going to
top,
your top secret
mission
meeting with
talking
this-
about we're going to destroy the world for capitalistic profit. And I'm just like, no. You
Nobody's allowed to take a Pip-Boy into that room.
Yeah, there should be no way that any recording device is. You are having a
You're in a
clandestine
Faraday
meeting
cage.
of blowing up the world for profit and to make the world as you see fit. And no, there's nothing that can record, and everybody is vetted and like,
this is like you get. I mean, we're jumping ahead to the next episode, but yeah, that's like you're getting. The head of Microsoft, the head of Amazon, the head of Meta, the head of Apple, the head of I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
In a room to talk about taking over the world.
Yeah.
You don't even have that in a room. You have it in a field somewhere.
Yeah.
Like
there's It's an underground bunker in a field somewhere, unlisted.
Everybody's naked. Like no electronic devices within 100
Everybody
miles.
was examined profusely before you were allowed in this room. Like it's just insane.
Anyway, let's go. Vault 4. Yep.
We basically get to find out that Vault 4
not evil.
Not
currently evil.
Not current. Was evil to begin with.
Yep.
All vaults were evil to begin with. But yeah, not evil was evil to begin with, but that's why the residents who are there are actually the mutants, as we find out that this vault was essentially used to create mutant hybrids that they thought would be better.
Yeah.
And this is also where the Gulper came from. So then we get to find out like they were made here, and also that's why they got the finger.
A vault where scientists have free reign.
Yep. And so like earlier in a previous episode when we see them in their waiting room and above it says test subjects.
Yep.
You think something sinister is like, well, that's what it used to be.
Yep.
Now it's just a bunch of strange people trying to live their lives. And Lucy assaulted them. And I do like
they about to get assaulted some more.
Yeah. I do like though one thing where I can't remember now. I didn't write down the whole sentence, but essentially the chick, not Lucy, but the from the vault said something about your people doing this, but it's not just like saying doing something bad. Like it's implying that their vault was doing the same thing. And it's like, yeah, I like this. Like basically, like Lucy sees every vault to be like my vault, where it's all happy. And when this lady's like, no, obviously your vault was also doing mutation and experience.
See,
they don't know that all the vaults, why they are messed up. Like, oh, they were all doing different shit.
If she had been more curious before leaving the vault, she could have gone and checked the files, and she would have learned about the secret of the vault.
Yes.
And all that. That's what everybody does when they start up a game. You go and read the overseer's files, and you find out what it's about. The secret of your vault before you learn about other vaults.
Overseer vaults.
But that's what Norm's doing.
Yeah,
that's what Norm's doing. Yeah.
I put this down just my thought, and I mean I know it doesn't happen because I guess you could say he's kind of, but he also admits that he's not a good guy a little bit later. I was like, Maximus should 100% be staying here. Like, like
he debates it for a second.
He does debate it for a second, but like you just for the first time ever have gotten a nice peaceful life. And at the end of the day, like I hate to say this, you've known Lucy for like 2 days.
Yeah,
2 days, and you're also the promise you made her, complete bullshit.
Yeah,
so you can't keep it. You're like, one is whatever comes to head, you're either gonna have to kill Lucy and take the head, or you're gonna have to, I don't know, just tell her like you can have the head, but also like I can't get you brotherhood support. So like eventually it's all gonna come to head. You're lying to it. I'm just like, dude, no, you just be like, oh, what's going on? Yeah, whatever. I got caviar. Like it was just like
I got popcorn, man. Now I was sold on popcorn personally.
And then we get
Thaddeus. Poor
the
Thaddeus.
most disturbing scene of this whole series. I did not need to see his foot.
Dude, I'm just like, don't take off the boot.
Yeah.
You're not getting the boot. I don't know how
somehow
he did.
I don't know how he got the sock. Like the boot is hard enough. I don't know how he got the sock back on.
Well, you got to get the sock on to get that foot in the boot.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. But oh my god,
with the toe hanging out there and everything,
and
like
the
it's
bones, and it's just and the whole time I'm just like, how?
He takes that off and looks at it. He's like, I'm gonna die. I'm like, yes.
And then the dog starts nibbling on. I'm just like, no.
I love how he like shoves the big bag of stuff into the car.
Yeah.
I'm like, why were you carrying it?
Why?
Like to begin with.
I was like, what's in that bag that's worth keeping? Where you're like, gotta carry this bag
you don't have
while I have this
armor to work on.
Crippled suit foot, and I'm just like, I don't, like I said, a little bit. I think it's next episode. We see Dane And he's limping a little bit, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Dane. After watching Thaddeus and how far he walked through the desert, I have zero sympathy for you. Like, ooh, you got your foot sliced up by a blade in your boot a little bit. I'm like, bull fucking shit.
Yeah.
That blah.
No, he would not.
So far,
he would not be able to make it.
Yeah,
anywhere.
No, there's no way.
Yeah, he's done. Yeah.
Yeah, but
maybe after the first few hours when you're running on adrenaline.
Yeah,
but after that, no way.
Yeah,
no way. Once you start feeling the pain,
and how did you not already bleed out too? Especially continually putting pressure on it, that's going to keep the blood just gushing out.
No, as soon as he takes off the boot, he's dead.
Yeah,
because he's just going to drain blood. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway,
but yeah, so yeah, and this is where he decides, which I mean, rightly so. It wasn't like the dog was helping him. I mean, people might be like, I can't believe you let the dog to die, but it's a wasteland, folks.
Yeah,
but
you can't let it have him snipping around your foot and your head. And...
So he abandons 4 in a.
He didn't abandon. He traps the dog in a cooler.
4 in a cooler. Yep. And then we're back to Vault 4, where I originally wrote down, man, Vault 4 doesn't fuck around when he pulls out this sword. And then it's like, no, we're just banishing you. And then I'm like, why did you tie her hands just to cut her hands with a sword a little bit later?
Symbolism. Scare her.
But yeah, they're kicking her out, giving her 2 weeks of supplies.
Seems pretty nice of them.
Yeah, I'm like, honestly, you're leaving the vault in better shape than you entered. Like, you're healthy. You got supplies. You're doing good. I mean, she did, and we never see it come back. So she did lose her leather armor, and it looks like she lost her 10mm pistol, which that sucks. But supplies, I mean, a weapon is very valuable, but you're not going to make it without supplies. So.
But did she get to take the supplies when they finally did?
No,
leave?
they did. I think when Maximus came in and body checked people around in the power armor and stole their fusion core, they're like the fact that he leaves. I mean, I guess you couldn't. I did write down that I guess you couldn't really stop him.
Yeah,
I was like, but the fact that he leaves with the fusion core at first, I was like, how'd you let him leave with that? But then I was like, I guess you really can't.
Yeah, you can't stop him. He just destroyed everything.
Yeah.
But he returns the fusion core.
They return the fusion core, but this is like I said. So this. That like literally Lucy says if we don't give it back, the auxiliary power will run out in a few days, and then everybody dies. And so I'm like, okay, so in this world, fusion cores last insanely long.
I feel like in my head canon is that they've replaced them.
That's what I feel like too. Like they got to have other ones. Yeah. That's what I really put.
But they've gone out and scavenged for more. Yeah,
but
or bought them from questionable doctors.
Because that was my thing. I'm like, if fusion cores are this powerful and also this rare, I'm like, how does the Brotherhood have so like? I mean, I guess the Brotherhood's just doing a damn good job. I'm like, how do you have so many? That you have that just many knights running around,
scouring the wasteland
in power armor?
Yeah.
But anyways, they after getting kicked out, they open up the console and enter a code, duplicate an item.
I'm like, how sturdy are these things that you can just drop them through that chute and then they're not gonna like explode
always seemed
or
pretty
something?
Sturdy in the game. I always felt like too. I feel like it's a solid little device there. But yeah, they return it. And then rightly so, you can't carry it with you, but he just leaves that power armor, and I'm like, and this is where my protagonist comes along and finds some free power armor, and I just have to have a spare fusion core. Yeah. I was just like, this is exactly how I get my power.
That's right.
So we get a little Lucy, Maximus finally coming clean. Lucy talking about. They can go back to the vault together, and Lucy's like, yeah, you can come live with me. And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you, Lucy, like just like he making the promise of the brothers helping you, like, can you really, like, I don't know, they're gonna let you back in the vault.
Yeah,
I don't even know how you signal for them to let you back in the vault.
Well, especially when we find out what's going on with Vault 33 and 31 and 32.
Yeah,
no, they're not letting that kind of dubious genetic material into the system.
Yeah. So I was like, you're making a promise that you can't keep. Because I'm like, who says you getting back into Vault 33? And then we have Thaddeus meeting a doctor who literally was
Chicken dude,
who was literally about to kill himself when he runs into him. But I'm like, that's how you know a reliable doctor.
Quote doctor.
Yes, quote doctor. I did put that down. Quote doctor. We have to see the foot again, which I was like, once was enough.
Yeah,
don't need it. I gotta be honest, Thaddeus. Other than, this comes a little bit later. I'm jumping ahead, but other than the whole being hunted by your own your brotherhood, like, this is for what you had lined up. pretty sweet deal. I honestly thought he was getting screwed when he so this doctor says he'll take the fusion core and he can heal him, which I'm like, Thaddeus, come on, man. You have to know there's no way anybody can heal that foot.
He's in a desperate situation, man.
But you have to know you have to know this is I mean, it turns out, bizarrely, it turns out not to be, but my mind's like, this is 100% a scam. He's going to inject you with something that kills you and take the core and all this stuff. Strangely, no, this guy can cure a power armored smashed foot. We find out how a little bit later, but
healing faster than Wolverine over here.
Like literally the bones come back together, and I was just like, okay.
Now, is this how you get turned into a ghoul in the game?
I don't
remember.
I don't think so.
I thought you just got exposed to high radiation for a long time.
That's what I thought too. And so I'm just wondering, like, I mean, this guy just come up with some weird. I don't know. Yeah, Thaddeus is back and he's happy and he's good.
Yep,
and he's off again. Norm back at the thing. I think like Norm killed them Raiders. They don't confirm it.
No, I think Betty did. I think Betty, at the behest of Vault 31, killed the Raiders.
Okay, yeah. Because I was like, I know Norm wants to.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was Stephanie.
Could have been Stephanie.
Just when Norm goes to her.
But she's part of Vault 31.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that. I just remember when Norm goes to see, what's his face? Chet. And Stephanie's there, and she's like, oh, it's just so sad what happened to those Raiders. I'm like, because you did it? No. But yeah, it's announced that they're about to do a little shuffle of who goes to which vault. I wrongly guessed that Norm was going to 32 because I thought Betty would want him away.
Yeah.
But
no, you keep your enemies close.
Yeah, that's what I think. Is Betty decides. So Chet is sent off with Stephanie. Stephanie, as I brought up last week, I was wrong about her becoming the overseer of Vault 33 eventually. She's the overseer of Vault 32. Yeah, or at least temporarily.
Can we talk about the Chet character?
Yeah,
I have liked the Chet character this whole series.
Yeah, me too.
Just season, I guess.
Yeah,
at least. I just love his line. It's like he calls him a coward. He's like, yeah, we all are. We all choose to stay here in this vault.
That's why we live in a vault. And I'm just like, for a character who definitely did not put that many points into intelligence, that's a wise line.
Yep. I hope that we get a character in the next season that's like just zero in, and he's just like bullets.
Yeah. But yeah, so everybody gets kind of divvied up, and then Norm. And I don't know how this even works. I mean, I'm guessing maybe he had his dad's code, but I still feel like there'd be more. There's a lot about 31 that I'm like, you guys are supposed to be really smart, and what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
But yeah, Norma, after realizing that basically everything's just going to continue on, he's like not having it, so he goes and gets on the overseer computer, logs in somehow. I'm gonna get. Oh no, that's right. That's why I put out. We get the hacking game. We get the actual hacking
more
game.
Of this.
Yeah.
He put all of his. He's got max hacking stats.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because he went through and got him the first try. And
I'm just like, why didn't he do this earlier?
Yeah. Well, I would have, as soon as I got back from Vault 32, I've been like, we need to figure out what's going on over here. But yeah, hacks in, contacts Vault 31, and is basically like saying he's Betty, I need to come over. And they said, come on over. How do they not have cameras?
How do they not have like a code? Yeah, no cameras.
No cameras.
No like code word.
No code word.
Yeah.
And then he calls out in his voice, which is very clearly not Betty's voice. Yeah. And I'm like, why is the vault opening? But it does.
Yeah. Well, because he's the guy is stuck, and he can't get to the cameras, and he can't. You're through a thick door. You can't necessarily hear the voice right.
Yeah.
You're just doing brain in a jar. What are you gonna do, man? Let's talk about the scene at the radio station.
Mm-hmm.
I love the radio. I love the radio station.
Yep.
For me, this is the worst cameo. In this season,
Fred Armisen.
Yeah. This scene was just too Portlandia. Mm-hmm. He was being too much Fred Armisen, being like, "Oh, you got to really get into the mids of the original sound of the music." And I'm like, I'm fine. It just didn't work for me.
I know.
It took me out of the immersion.
The one thing that did was still follow for me was just the booby trap setup. that
I
he had,
love the booby
because
trap.
I'm like, yeah,
No, visually the
meet
whole
these-
concept was great.
Yeah.
But Fred Armisen being Fred Armisen in
Yeah,
this scene,
that
what
didn't work.
What didn't work for me.
But yeah, no, I just love, because I just remind me like so many of the weird things you can stumble across and fall out in the wilderness, where you meet like some casual dude,
Yeah.
and it just turns out that he's like a psychopathic killer. Like you meet like the weird cannibal family in one of the games. It's like there's just so many times where you meet like just normal people, and then you're like, oh, but there's this dark shit going on over here, and it reminded me of that very.
By the way,
much.
speaking of like the set design and stuff, I saw something from Todd Howard where he was saying, well, what we did, the reason that the sets look so good is because we provided assets from the game, the 3D assets from the game files,
and people were 3D
they
printing
3D
them.
printed them. Yeah, like that's fantastic. That's how you do it. I mean,
Mhm.
when you have this kind of source material, why not?
Yeah,
You know.
but yeah, so Lucy and Maximus show up, and Thaddeus shows that his training at the Brotherhood has been terrible, because he unloads
Stormtrooper level,
a whole gun on two people sitting out in the open and misses every shot.
So he's like, I can't do it without a scope.
Yeah, he's like, I'm terrible without a scope. And this is where we get the confirmation that Thaddeus is a ghoul, because he gets shot through the neck with an arrow from one of the traps, pulls it out, just fine.
Well, not just fine. It heals over,
heals
but
up,
it heals
yeah.
over like a ghoul scar,
Mhm.
which is an interesting concept of like that's how
I wonder-
the ghouls start to look like that.
I wonder how long before he loses his nose.
Oh, that's a good. See, that's got to be like a sunburn thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like your skin just burns and then it just heals back like a ghoul, and then
Yeah.
your nose is all cartilage, so it just falls off.
Yeah.
You know.
And then we get a great line when the brother is showing up and like, oh, they're the good guys, right? And I just love, it's like, it's a complicated organization. I'm like, that is the best way to describe the Brotherhood, because playing through all the Fallout games I've played through is like, sometimes like, yeah, these guys are pretty cool, and sometimes like, these guys suck balls, and sometimes like, these guys are evil bad. Like, it just depends on what version of the Brotherhood you happen to bump into.
That's right. But yeah, anyway, the Brotherhood's coming.
Mm-hmm.
They can hear the helicopters, and he decides to switch the heads.
Yep.
I'm like, this is not going to work,
And tell
brother.
Lucy to bounce and stuff.
Well,
with the
before that,
head.
they have a kiss.
They have a kiss.
I get no chemistry between these
None.
two characters.
I never felt this feels so weird and forced, and comes more to the head in the next episode. But yeah, it just feels just like they just shoehorn in a relationship for no reason. But yeah, he gets picked up by the Brotherhood, and then the last thing we get to see is Norm entering the vault
and seeing something
seeing
disturbing.
something, and then roll the fucking credits.
The tension. We're going to take a break there. When we come back, we're going to talk about the season finale of the show.
All right, we are back. Episode 8, the beginning. Robert, I watched this Wednesday night. It took so much self-control not to call you a suit. Honestly, finishing the episode was a task. This is, and it's so lucky that the other 7 episodes of this show were good, because this episode is so fucking bad.
I'm with you.
That it almost destroyed.
you.
Like, I was like, no, there was so much good, but that episode is so fucking bad that it almost destroyed the show for me. I was
with you.
so much stupidity, so much of that makes no sense. I was just like, what the fuck? And so I looked up. Did I write down their names? I think I wrote down their names. But I looked up, and so they have the directors and the writers for each episode.
Okay.
The first 3 episodes are directed by a pair of guys and written by one dude, and then all the rest of the episodes are written by other people, right? And directed by other people. Nobody other than the first 3, nobody else repeats. And all I got to say, I don't think I have their names actually, but the guy who wrote this and the guy who directed this should never be allowed to touch anything ever again. And I say this knowing that the guy who directed this, that's the only thing, but I can't remember what this episode was good or not, also directed an episode of Doom Patrol. I'm like, was it a bad episode of Doom? There were some bad episodes of Doom Patrol. And I'm like, I think it was called Francis Patrol. I can't remember if Francis Patrol was a good or bad episode.
It doesn't sound like a good one to me.
No.
I don't remember it.
No.
Not an iconic one, that's for
and
sure.
so I was just like, this is bad.
They dropped the iconic line
so
twice.
bad. Yeah,
in
twice.
This, and they waste it both times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's just get into it. But yes, I'm with you. You
I
said
was
that
so
we had
scared.
dinner the other night, and you said, and it sounded like we were going to diverge on this.
No,
I think that there's a lot of problems with this episode. I did not think they stuck the landing for
they
sure.
didn't even.
It's
come
not a
close
terrible
to the
season.
landing. No,
I will watch the second season. I will
I'm
get
on board
excited
for the
and giddy
second
for a second season.
as long as they veer hard away from this. Like
There has been some backlash, for sure,
I hope
on the very, very end, which I'm not for the backlash in particular, but I have a lot of problems with this episode.
I have so many problems.
Brotherhood is taking over Philly.
Well, first off, so one last thing. This was before I knew about that episode, but also I just want to say this. I hate when shows do this. I knew they were going to do it. Only every so often does a show be generous and not do this. But literally, last thing we see of episode 7 is Norm walking to the vault and seeing something. And I hate
to start
when
with
it's
that.
like,
Yeah.
it's 14 minutes. It's 14 minutes of not Norm. And I'm like, I know other stuff is important, but I need Norm right now. I hate when shows do that where they're like, I mean, I will say 14 minutes, especially of an hour show, not the worst.
Yeah.
I've watched shows that they had that cliffhanger,
But
and
anything
it comes
you
in at the
do-
last 10 minutes of the
And
next episode.
This isn't like a show that's like week to week.
Yeah.
This was released all at once. So that means anyone binging this,
yeah.
whatever you do in this 15 minutes, they're just not paying attention. They're
No.
wondering, when are we getting to Norm?
I was like, I don't care about Maximus right now. I mean, I usually care about Maximus, but right now, I don't care what happens to Max. Lucy could walk off a fucking bridge right now. It wouldn't even faze me.
Well, I mean, but I'm not, because I've not really cared for the Maximus character this whole season, honestly.
Well, true, yeah.
He's a weaker link. I could have
Yeah.
used... I would have preferred if the Brotherhood was more faceless.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's get into it. Brotherhood, like you said, took over Philly. I don't know how Maximus is alive right now.
I don't understand
all.
either. Like, they should...
Especially, and if,
Well, I mean, I kind of do, because of the conversation he has with, like, the head honcho guy.
I mean, yeah, but the fact that he got to the head hunt, like, they wanted the head. And sure, they didn't know it wasn't the right head, but they wanted the head. That's all they wanted. And Maximus had already, as the head honcho guy says, you've got 2 of the people we've sent with you have been, brothers have been killed and stuff. So and so does all the rest of the Brotherhood. And with this core faction, like I said, the Brotherhood is a very varied faction of, like, sometimes they're more peaceful and kind, and sometimes they're evil. This is very much an evil faction of the Brotherhood. So, like, yeah, Titus was a knight in this faction of the Brotherhood, and we saw how messed up he was. So the fact that he could become a knight makes me, this is a pretty messed up faction of the Brotherhood, where I don't see them being like, let's take him back to talk to the leader. It's like, oh, grab the head and then smash his head in and call it a day. So I was like, I don't even know how this man's alive right now.
Law and Order, they got a religious thing going on.
Yeah. I mean, Titus didn't really respect it.
But anyway, yeah, they're about to kill him. He's like, hey, I can get the head. They're like, hey, why did you, what happened to your guy?
Yeah.
And all this stuff. And then we get the revelation that his, quote, friend, I don't want to call them a friend.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, I hurt my own leg.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you're a jerk for not saying that earlier. Like,
it's literally just like, you saw Maximus get dragged away, and he luckily said the right things, but if he hadn't, he might have been murdered for you being scared to go out into the wilderness. It's just like, why are you in the Brotherhood? Why are you? What it's going to happen eventually.
But we end up with this backroom conversation between him and the head guy. It sort of. I mean, I like the sentiment that, like, he's like, you are representing what the Brotherhood should be. Someone who takes power.
Maybe, but on that logic, there's a couple of things, because during that same conversation, he brings up how everything pretty much Maximus has said has been a lie. Like, the head's lie, what happened to his brother is a lie, everything's been a lie. He's not dead. So I'm like, sir, he took power, but I'm just like, he is also a known liar who has betrayed your organization, because he brought back this false head, instead of being like, oh, the head's so, and to some degree, to betray your organization. And my thing is like, what makes you think that even if he is the guy who takes power, it's like, okay, well, what do you think's going to happen when you, like, he makes him his second in command, or essentially, or one of his top dogs. I'm like, oh, well, then his next, if he is the guy you think he is, especially with him being a liar and schemer, it's like, then next he kills you and takes more power. So I'm like,
with you.
This makes no sense.
I'm 100% with you in that, but the way that I see it, if I'm trying to morph and wrap my head around good writing, which this is not, this is a Sith Lord situation where he's like,
Where you
I'm gonna
believe
I
you're
need an
stronger.
apprentice that's gonna be attacking me to keep me strong.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
like
and you'll be on top.
if my apprentice can take power from me, that means I'm weak and deserve to lose anyway, kind of thing.
But the other thing I also was wondering, I was like, did at any point did Lucy share the coordinates of where Moldova was with him? Because that was the other thing. I was like, how does, like, they split up, and I was like, how does he know where she is?
Yeah.
That was the other thing that got me. There's a lot, because also I forgot to bring this up. When the ghoul finds, I mean, it's the luck stat, but like he said, he got the coordinates from the sun. So it's like, okay, he knows where to go. But then when he finds, and that's the other thing I forgot to bring up, is we finally got to hear 4 called dog meat in the last episode. When he finds dog meat, I'm just like, how? I'm just like, there's so much of just people going to destinations in this show. That's the one thing I will say throughout the whole show, not just this episode, is a little bit before it gets on my nerves. It is people just going to destinations, but just happy. Like I said, I wrote down, this is the smallest Fallout map ever made.
Yeah.
It is smaller than any other
visit
rest of
all
them.
the points of interest.
Yeah.
You're telling me
like the fact you can just bump into
like,
anybody.
This is like supposed to be like L.A., Hollywood. There's only one Red Rocket gas station in all of L.A.
Yeah. But anyways, so he agrees so he can save Lucy.
Now the rest of it's released in the DLC. We just get a small portion.
Yeah.
We get the beachfront, and we get over the mountains into the desert. It's like if you want downtown, you got to buy that later.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait for the DLC to come out. So yeah, we catch up with Lucy. I gotta say, Moldova's people not doing bad.
Yeah, so this but this is
corn.
bad writing.
Yeah,
This is a problem. First of all, the corn, fantastic. Looks just like the game. Maybe a little not spread out enough. A little too dense.
Yeah.
But I loved it. It looked just like the corn in the game. What I don't understand is like the raiders that raided the vault.
Yeah.
They're crazies. They're crazy raiders.
Yeah.
That didn't seem like the kind of people that Moldova like chills with.
So that my only thought process, which I'm still like, how did she get? I mean, I guess you could just tell them there'll be so much loot and plunder, but is that she for whatever reason left
Like,
her people,
outsourced it,
and then and she was like, I'm gonna get me some raiders to go attack with. Which that was a little weird. I was just like, these people are definitely not the raiders.
Yeah.
So I guess he went and recruited some raiders. I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty chill inside this place.
They're doing pretty nice.
Yeah.
I have a huge, which we'll get to later, but I have a huge flaw with this place. But overall, like, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
I like the little detail of like one of the ghouls that she saved from the mart was there, and I'm like, I feel like he should have repped her, like gone in to and been like, hey, Moldova, this one saved my life.
Yeah.
You know? So I got her back.
But I mean, Moldova already knew who she was anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. In more ways than we could imagine.
Yeah. But yeah, so we get to we alluded to this last episode, but we get to back to Coop in the past, and basically him hearing Vault-Tech's insane plans.
Yeah, this jumps all over the place from this point forward. It's like past, future, other vaults.
Yes.
Like we just kind of talk about it in the abstract of the past, the present, and other alternate places.
Yeah.
So
one thing, because this is where the stupidity, this isn't like the most offensive of the stupidity. It was just a little annoying because these are supposed to be the smartest people in the world in this room. And they're talking about basically, so Vault-Tech is talking about how they want to basically restart the world with the right people in charge.
Which is Robco, West Tech, Big Mount, which I don't remember Big Mount.
Neither do I.
And Repcon, which I didn't really remember Repcon, but I looked that up, and apparently it's a aerospace company. You go into the building in one of the video games.
Yeah. And so they're all in the room, and they're basically like, so what we're going to do, we made like 140 volts or something like that. And I was like, that's more than what we need. So basically we think we can make civilization better by, doing these volts this way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so that's, I mean, it's twisted and fucked up, but that part of the plan makes sense. Where it starts to fall apart is where she's like, but hey, you all can do whatever you want in your own volts. And I'm like, okay.
But I thought Vault-Tech was in control of everything.
Yeah. And then also, if you can do whatever you want in all your volts, then, like I said, Vault-Tech's grand plan, as by Bud, is management. to solve the world's problem.
That by the way, that's not the grand plan of Vault Tech.
Yeah, that's
just. But so the first time I watched this, I was like, oh, Bud's in charge of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And this is going to be where his wife is and stuff. It's like, no. This is just Bud's plan.
Yeah, this is just
his
Bud's plan.
Personal vault system.
But during this conversation, the other guys start getting engaged. One was like, ooh, we learned that it sounds like super mutants were done on purpose because they're like, we could make a vault full of like super soldier mutants and stuff. And other vaults like, ooh, a vault where all the kids are taken away from the parents.
So these are real vaults from the games. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And only the strongest survive. And I'm just like, okay. And so one thing they say during this meeting is like, yes, like war is caused because of factions when there are no factions. Well, I'm like, yeah, but by making it where each vault is different and they have different ideologies and they've been doing this for 200 years before they come out, you just created new factions. And then wait,
I want to disagree with you on that. Because the way I read it is that there's a management vault, right? Not Bud's vault, not the trifecta.
But there's like an actual
there's a bigger vault, that Barb is part of. Mm-hmm. They're gonna pick the winner,
okay,
and then that is what is gonna be let out to take over the world, whichever is the winning vault.
Well, then my other question
this is a huge retcon because in the games the concept is that they're trying to perfect how to live in an enclosed environment so that way rich people can bounce off the planet in some kind of like multi-generational spaceship. Yeah. It's wild in the game world. This is kind of just like retconning and changing it a little bit.
But so then there's still the other issue I have with this is, like I said, everybody gets to do their vault, and if everything goes according to plan, whatever vault wins, and that's who's let out, and I guess all the other vaults are exterminated. Sure, okay. Well, still, my question is how? Because like I said, they're wanting to make the better world without war. That's what they're saying is their goal. And I'm like, well, one of them just literally put forth a survival of the fittest vault, which if you're doing survival of the fittest, they're going to be nonstop fighting.
Well, and
the other guy put forward a vault of super. Why do you need super soldier mutants if there's not going to be any? What are they for? If there's not going to be any war, so that's the other thing is like these plans. If this is to make the better world, the peace world, these plans don't make sense.
There's something to be said about getting your corporate rivals just on board.
True.
And whatnot. Yeah. But there's also a problem like in any scenario, regardless of what group you pick, even if it's Bud's super managers. Yeah. He's breeding the super managers. Mm-hmm. 100 years, 200 years, whatever. Eventually, your population's going to get big enough that different schisms are going to happen, and you're going to develop different groups that are going to go against each other. Well, history will repeat itself. Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. The fact that they think like, it's just because we did it wrong the first time. Like, no, this is just like I'm not saying that war. I mean, is default of humans, but human nature is to eventually grow apart, as time goes on. Like you form communities, but those communities will be different. So it's just like, no, it's like you said, it will happen. Even if Bud's vault wins out and then they're released out into the world, well, guess what? They're all going to get out and then stuff. But as they get farther apart, because communication,
because the
different management styles are going to develop.
The management class has never been cutthroat.
Yeah,
never had infighting at all. Yeah, I absolutely hated that Barb delivered the war never it changes line. Yeah, it was badly delivered.
I read about awkward. So I read about what's Coop's actor's name? Walter Goggins.
No, wait, whoa. I don't disparage you for saying that. His name is Walton Goggins. Yeah. I have said, and you have said multiple times throughout this season, and probably other shows that we've covered with him in it, that his name is Walter Goggins. It's a simple mistake. I've made it. But his name, just for the clarity of our listeners, is Walton Goggins. And he needs to change his name to Walter, just because,
But anyways.
Sorry, Walton.
I read an article where he was talking about, like, he didn't, when he was saying that line. And that's
insane
he didn't realize, like, how important that line is to the franchise, and he's glad he did it well. And then my thing is, like, let not even talking about how his line comes out, but the fact that, like, it's a major thing. And so it's like, when C said it, and because I knew he says it at some point, and I knew it had to be in this episode, the last episode. So I was like, when C said it, I was like, what is that? You don't waste this line. Yeah. Like, this is like a once per, if even this, but this is like a once per season line. You You don't get 2.
Yeah.
So
you
when
either
she
say
said
that
it,
in a prologue in the first episode,
Mhm.
which would have been a great place for it.
Yeah.
Or you have Walton Goggins' character say it at the end, or maybe Moldova.
Yeah.
Or whatever,
Mhm.
Moldova. But no, you use it twice.
Yeah.
And Barb's delivery, the actress is fine.
Yeah.
The writing was just bad.
It was just
yeah, terrible way. I think if it had just been, the ghoul saying it when he said it, it would have been perfect. But because it had already been said, it was they just need to do some editing there. But that's crazy to me. You wouldn't go play the games, or read the material, or watch them. Like, what kind of prep did Walton Goggins do for this?
Yeah.
Like, and if he didn't do any prep, like playing the games or reading or watching videos or anything, like,
he's just
my
that good
God,
of an actor.
Yeah, what an actor to be able to like listen to direction and read the script and just like do what he's told. I'm like, I want to work with this man if I ever become in the get into the biz.
Yeah.
Like if he can take direction like that, hell yeah.
And then basically just to wrap up the past stuff, we get to see Hank, who was Henry.
Yep. We also see Betty. Betty is.
Did we see Betty?
No, the secretary, the black secretary that like brings him into the room because he's like, hey, we've got this guy Henry that would like to come and meet you, and he's like, yeah, that's fine, I'd love to meet him, Betty. And I'm like, that's the Betty.
I did not realize that was Betty.
I know, I didn't the first time around either, but yeah.
Okay, but yeah, so we get to see that this Henry is Hank in the future, which will be explained shortly, because I think we should just go ahead and shift to Norm, because I want to hold off from getting to the really stupid stuff for
let's talk about Norm, because Norm is kind of like an outlier in this episode. He has a story, but it gets cut short again before the end of the season, and then I guess we'll pick it up next season or something. But yeah, he's in Vault 31.
Yep.
And he finds Bud Atkins, who's a brain in a jar.
But the character name is actually, I don't know where, is Brain on a Roomba. And so this is where
they couldn't have given him a better robot. They had better robots to put a brain in.
And so that's my thing, is like, I want to know what, like, Vault Trio is what I'll call it, was not that well thought out.
Trifecta, but whatever.
Trifecta. Because I'm just like, what? Like I said, we already talked about how there's no security, no nothing. I get that it's being
Donnell, I dare say, which one of the vaults was well thought out?
True. But yeah, so there's no security at the door. I'm like, even if you think, oh well, because these people are being basically brainwashed into being under Bud's management style, it'll work out. Still, like, what if an accident happens? But then also, like, we know there's things like Securitrons. Like, if you you can't have other people living and Bud's only one alive. I'm like, okay, have some Securitrons. Have any of those other robots. I can't remember what they're called. Like, there's plenty of things. But instead they have a Roomba.
Well, also, why doesn't he have the option to control those things? Why aren't those around?
Exactly. Yeah. But instead we just have a Roomba with a brain and a needle that he can't really aim that well.
Oh, by the way, Norm stands around for too long
with his back to him.
Yeah.
I was just like,
kick
Norm,
the jar as fast as
there's
possible.
a part where Norm is, and I thought it was going to happen. He's going to get stabbed. But there's a part where he's like looking out at all the frozen people and like he's talking to Bud while he's doing it. But the whole time, for at least like 3 minutes straight, he is not looking behind himself. I'm like, what is that Roomba doing? Why is that Roomba not? I mean, I know your hand-eye coordination is terrible because you ain't got hands or eyes, but still, like, give it a couple attempts, But basically, like I said, this is Bud, which I also like. How do you get the story? I mean, I know this is his plan, but like I said, why can't he have a better robot body? I just Roomba. Maybe that just shows how much they didn't like. Maybe they gave Bud his thing, but they're just like, we don't really even believe in this.
Yeah,
so
we can't give this guy too much power.
Yeah, but yeah, basically, he's been running the whole show. And the reason Vault 31 always produces the overseers is everybody from Vault 31 is someone from back 200 years ago, Vault Tech, that's just been frozen from Bud's specific program of managers. So that's Hank was one, Betty was one, Steph was one.
Yeah, wouldn't it suck to be like, oh, you get called out midstream instead of at the end?
Yeah.
When Paradise is coming?
Yeah, like, hey, wake up. Oh, you here? No.
You're just part of the cog, the plan.
And the part that would also, or not suck, but it's like, it's got to be like, I want to know, I wish we could see like how it goes down. Like you wake up, it's been like, does Bud just sit you down and give you like a quick rundown of the last 200 years, get you up to speed, and then also like, hey, you got to put on a face.
Life. Vault life never changes. Okay, it's the same. But I feel like Betty, like once she does her tour as overseer, I feel like she gets to go back in the cryo tube and come back out when the job's done.
Yeah.
You know, like not just have to waste away.
Yeah. Yeah, why? Like, once he was alive as an overseer with another person as an overseer, I feel like you should be able to, like, hey, I'd like to. Yeah, I'm with you. I'd be like, yeah, I want to go back into cryo sleep until this is done. We get
Put
to
me back in
come
the
out.
good mashed potatoes.
There must be some kick-ass dream mashed potatoes. But yeah, so basically we see that Bud is just running this place, and we basically get the explanation like, yeah, this is this. All these people have been frozen, and they're just going to keep training people just to be basically in this weird management world of Buds. And then so Norm gets all this information, and so you brought up that the door closed behind him, but I was like, I had seen enough. Like, when I walked in, see a bunch of frozen people, and there's a Roomba on a brain, I'm like, cool, all right, I'm out, going back to Vault 33. But he goes all the way in,
He's
stands
curious.
there for a while, talks to the brain, and then I'm like, come on, man, you have to know. If this is their plan, there's no way they're going to, just the more time he spends in there, we're just like, just run. But instead, he announces, like, okay, well, I'm going to leave. I'm like, you don't tell him you're leaving either. But as soon as he says it, that's when he closes the door and says he can't leave. And I'm just like, well, you should have gotten out of there so long ago. You should have gotten out of there so long ago.
Well, also, like, he tries to, this is when the boss fight happens for me.
Yeah.
You fight we have Norm fight the head in the jar, which he
not
wins.
that hard of a fight. Yeah,
against.
No. This is
but
a
also,
crappy
like,
little
you
robot.
just tip him over, like it's Robot Wars or whatever.
Yeah.
Not what is the robot show?
It's Robot Wars.
Robot Wars. Yeah, where mostly you just like gotta flip over your opponent and make them disabled.
They always put all these saws and stuff, and it never does anything.
It's always the one that can just flip you
It's always the
over.
one that has like a flippy paddle.
Yeah, until you run into the one that can like right itself, and you're like, shit.
Yeah, you're like, whoa.
And it's got saws. The Roomba has saws. Anyway, but also like Norm is a master hacker.
Yeah.
Like, you can just hack your way out of the room.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, and the thing is, maybe that's what he does. We don't know, because this basically, so Bud is like, you're locked in here. I can't let you go. I recommend you get in your dad's pod and just ride this out like everybody else. And Norm kind of seems to be considering it, and that's the last we see. So maybe
I'm
next
assuming
episode,
he gets in the cryo tube.
Yeah, which I'm just also, once again, I'm not, I mean, it seems like Bud isn't going to do it because Bud had plenty of chances to stab him anyways while he was standing there. But I was just like, dude, you get in that cryo tube, and you get put out, then Bud just walks up and sticks you with feather and that needle wire in the tube and you're dead. So I was just like,
no, Bud's going to kill you as soon as you get in that tube.
I was like, don't get in that tube.
I mean, no, you're good genetic material.
True.
Good management material. You know? It's like
but he wasn't he wasn't trained by Bud 200 years ago to be one of Bud's buds.
That's true.
Can you really trust him to just stick to the values of being
this is the right kind of curious backstabber that you want, you know? All right, so let's get back to the main story.
All right.
We've got Lucy. She is talking to Moldover. There's a random ghoul lady at the table, and Dad is in a cage.
Yep.
We find out that the dad is the one that bombed Sandy Shores.
Yeah.
And that like the visions that she remembers of her mother being in the sun in the cornfield were from the observatory. Yeah. So she had lived outside the vault for a time.
And that's what got me I was just like, because like Lucy, what would you say that age range between Lucy and Norm is?
Lucy and Norm?
Yeah. I feel like
a couple of years. Yeah. Maybe more.
2 or 3, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, she took both her kids, and you never see her with a baby, and they make it sound like Norm was a baby. So I'm like, if Norm's doing his own thing and walk stuff, he's at least 3. I feel like Lucy's 6, and I'm like, if you were a 6-year-old, you would remember being outside of the vault.
Yeah.
Like, only real little kids, like at 6. I mean, might not have the clearest, but you would remember. I remember living in San Diego. I remember living in military housing.
I remember going to kindergarten. A little tidbits in there, but like going outside of the vault, to the cornfields in the sun. That's
gonna stick with you.
That's a major life event.
That her and Norm have 0. Well, they said Norm was probably too young. Yeah. I'll give Norm a pass, but I'm like, Lucy, what's going on? How do you not remember that?
She has like some memories.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How
no,
is this
she
a
should-
shocking
yeah.
revelation to you?
Yeah.
I feel like, but anyways, yeah, Moldova reveals that, basically her mom came out of the vault. I do feel like the mom making this leap of, well, something siphoning off some of our water.
Yeah.
It must be all good. Like, even if, let's just say, there are people out there, that doesn't mean that it's all good and radiation's gone. Like you said, as we see with the ghouls and superheroes, like, what the hell's that? But she just literally ups and just, all right, taking the kids, leaving the vault. And I'm like, well, that's a leap. Like, even from a non-sinister approach, I could get where her husband's coming from. Like, well, we can't just open the door. And she's just like, well, I'm doing it. I'm like, that's a little much.
Well, she's probably a master hacker, too. She probably did some investigating, to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
For sure. But we find out the reason that Moldova took the dad is because he has a code that she needs to unlock cold fusion, which is what is in the head of the dude.
Yes. And
ridiculous and stupid. I hate that this is like the MacGuffin.
Yeah, this is the big MacGuffin of it all. Also, my thing is like, you need the code, and I'm like, listen, and you're not Norm, so maybe you didn't got the hacking skills. But I was like, I'm like, why would this dad, under any reason, give this code? It doesn't matter. Like, and Lucy,
why
just
would he
asked
have
him.
the code?
Yeah, and Lucy just asks him, and he gives it to him. And I'm just like, no, that makes no sense. And like, maybe they had been torturing him, but like, no. And then the other thing that got me is, I'm like, you don't need the dad. You just need the thing, because I'm like, you have nothing but time.
Yeah.
You can hack this.
Yeah.
You don't need the dad to give you the code. You can just hack this. Like,
Wait, well, let's talk about time.
Yeah.
And Moldova.
Mm-hmm.
How?
Yeah.
I needed an answer to
They
this equation. We
still
are left to
told
guess
us how Moldova.
I guess we assume cryogenics.
Yeah.
Or
But
she's a ghoul that
why?
just has a lot of chemical to keep her from turning
and
ghoulish.
losing her nose. Like, why? Because that's my thing, is like, so then I was like, yeah, maybe she got frozen. And the only thing I can think is like, what, did she like convince Vault Tech that she was suddenly on their side or something? Like, I just don't.
She was rich.
Yeah.
She was a rich person, so maybe she could have set up her own situation. But like, okay, well, why do you wake up at this time? Like, there are a lot of questions about Moldova
that they just
I need answers
over.
to. Yeah. Like, why not just like pick up right after the bombs drop?
Yeah.
Why wait 230 years or whatever?
because I'm looking at my notes and they're written as I saw it. So one of the things I just saw was actually one thing I wrote about the past scene, because one thing they say is like, yeah, it's like, when we rule the world, it will be a monopoly. I'm like, but see, what you're proposing here with 5 other companies is exactly what is not a monopoly.
Look, it's the Umbrella Corporation problem. It's like, oh, we're going to create a zombie apocalypse. And then you keep watching the movies and they're still just having board meetings. I'm like, what are you doing, man? There's zombies at the door. Like, you just still checking the quarterly reports? Like, you're done.
But anyways, C reveals that that the dad killed the mother in a sense.
Yep.
And
but the mom's not dead.
Exactly. C asks where. So I knew she was a ghoul just because I instantly saw a spoiler thing of it was literally a picture from the cast, and it was Lucy, her dad, and the ghoul actress all together, and that she was in ghoul makeup, and it was like a family portrait. And I was like, that must be mom. So I knew it was mom anyways, but still, the fact that Moldover's like, you should already know. I was like, I don't know if I'd make that logical jump that the ghoul was my mom. Like, in my logical mind, mom's dead. Like, dad bombed a place, mom's just dead. I don't know why Moldover phrased like, well, you should know that obviously it's the ghoul that's here in the room. I'm like, should I? I was just like, but anyways, so she gets cold fusion, and that's when the Brotherhood shows up.
Yeah.
And this is where one of my biggest problems comes in. Because I'm like, okay, there's corn here.
Yep.
So they've been here for a while.
Yep.
If and I'm not saying you can't have yourself a base set up, but if you are getting some technology that is everybody wants, and people are willing to kill and destroy for, you don't set that up on your base on the hill.
Correct.
You
like, do this in an abandoned vault.
Like, you have another base somewhere else, your secret base that no one knows. Like, this base is fine. When you grow in your corn, everybody's living peacefully.
Yep.
But when you get the MacGuffin, your first thing you do is like, all right, everybody, we're leaving.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing that all mankind wants.
Yeah.
And so the fact that she's like, she plugs into a scene right there, and it's like, nobody allowed them in this room. And I'm like, no. Where are the escape tunnels? Where's the underground railroad? I'm just like, this is
No.
This is your plan.
She arrives with the thing, with the MacGuffin,
Yeah.
with the core or whatever, and then she gets the next mission to take it to the theoretical physicist.
Yeah.
At another location.
Yes.
To work on it. Yeah.
Yes. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
And the fact that there's no, like, that's the other thing where it was like, leaves out the one way. And there's no back exit to this place. Then I'm just like, what type of top secret base is this?
Well, I mean, there is a back exit because the dad takes one, and so does Lucy and the ghoul later on. But yeah, no, it's stupid. I'm with you.
Dumb.
I'm with you.
Like,
it's
what?
stupid. Yeah, 250 years in preparation, and you botch it at the end.
Yes.
I hate the dad trying to reason with her. Like, come on, man, she isn't gonna buy your horse shit at this point.
Oh yeah, he says so many things that are terrible. Like, see, stop being your mom. I was like, you're not gonna win this argument with anything you're saying. So another thing so the Brotherhood has shown up, but I actually want to jump back to the Brotherhood getting ready for this because there's a part where Maximus and Dane are having a chit chat before they head out. And Maximus is just like, so I met a girl. I'm going to go save Lucy. And that's what this is all about. And I'm like, like, yes, I guess you know you can trust Dane, but do you? And the other thing is also like, you're standing in the middle of the barracks. He's not whispering. The Brotherhood is all around him. I'm like, you are literally saying, oh, I'm not doing this for the Brotherhood. I'm actually going to betray him and leave with a girl to go live in her vault. And I'm just like, what the hell are you doing? Shut the fuck up, Maximus. Even if you do want to tell your best friend who may or may not be your friend who almost got you killed, do that and pull him out of the barracks. Go to the side to whisper. I was just like, you're standing in the barracks
he's the worst.
Talking about betraying the Brotherhood.
If you're leaving, you're never going to see this person again.
Yeah.
Unless you're taking them with you, there's no reason to tell them.
Though I do like Dane's answer was like, Maximus, nowhere is safe. I'm like, he got that right because the bolts are not safe.
That's right. So during this battle's pretty cool. You know, there's a cool slow motion scenes. It's all fine. There's I like the guy, getting blown out of the copter and thrown into the propeller. It's fun stuff.
There's a weirdness in it though, and both sides do it. And I'm just like, what is this? So we have the Brotherhood showing up with the scribes and knights. We have the rebels fighting, and then there's a scene where there's like, in the foreground, there's like a power armor dude like slamming a rebel to the ground, right? And in the background, one of the rebels is running with a flag, not a weapon.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, that's weird. Why you like grab a gun or anything? But then charging towards him is someone from the Brotherhood with the Brotherhood thing. Is like, is flag fighting a thing?
Yeah.
Like, is that something that all wars have in this? Well, you gotta have the flag guys fight. That's how you really. That's how you really know who won is whoever wins the flag fight. Because I just watched these two guys with flags charging each other. I was like, what are you two doing?
In the middle of this siege, the ghoul shows up.
And this is another stupid part.
Yes, absolutely. He does like this whole thing where like the power armor has a chink in the armor. Takes out a guy. I'm like, why did he get that far?
Yeah. Well, especially because my biggest thing is this.
He's an abomination to these religious fanatics.
And Maximus is right there.
Yeah.
He knows who this is. This is the guy who fucked you up. And you're just like, well, let's hear him out.
Yeah.
I was like, the fact that Maximus was like, kill him. As soon as he saw him, I was just like, what is going on, Maximus? You are the dumbest character in this show, but you're really this dumb? Like, you're making Chet look smart here, folks. And then, but the other side of that coin is I'm like, okay, fine. So the ghoul's good. And he takes out a whole hallway full of knights and stuff. And I'm just like, the next scene is Maximus coming into the room with Lucy. I'm like, no.
He got
If
taken
the
out by the
ghoul is murdering all the knights, he doesn't, like, this is before he knows that Maximus and Lucy even have any relations. Because at first I was like, oh, maybe he's like, oh, it's Maximus. He's with Lucy. But I'm like, no, he actually knows, he has not seen them together since Philadelphia. And even then, they weren't together. So I was like, he has no reason to see Maximus as any different than any other not Brotherhood person. So I'm just like, the ghoul if you want me to believe that the ghoul just massacred a room full of power armored up knights and other scribes, Maximus is also dead. I was like, there's no way Maximus got into this room alive. But he did. And this is where things reach a level of stupidity I was not aware was possible. This is where, literally, because after these scenes we're about to talk about, there's about 5 minutes left of episode.
Mm-hmm.
I had to fight myself to watch it. Because one is I kept going back to looking at the stupidest scene in the show, but also every time I started playing it, I just was starting like, but it was so dumb and I can't. But anyways, let's get into it.
Yes. So Max runs in, frees Hank.
Yes, freeze Hank, which
Lucy doesn't try and stop
Lucy
him.
doesn't say a thing.
Yeah.
Not like I even wrote down. I was like, I
By
get.
the way, and Lucy, from my perspective, in
Mhm.
Lucy's head, she has made the turn.
Yeah.
She is no longer father is no longer the good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And my thing is like, I was like, okay, I get that literally you have just gone through a head fuck of a moment. Your mom's a ghoul. Your dad killed her. Your dad's evil. The world is all screwed up. Everything's sort of. I could get you're in a little bit of shock.
Yeah.
But when Maximus comes in, and even if you can't speak immediately, when he goes to free literally the guy who you just learned ruined your life,
Yeah.
even the fact that you just like stand there and say nothing, I was just like, hello. Hello? Someone
Also,
there?
Also, poor Max, because he's like, okay, let's go, and she's
Yeah.
like, not him.
Yeah,
and
not
he's
him.
like, I thought this was the whole reason
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
here.
that's
The whole
thing.
we just been through a whole season
But
of
then-
reason to get to this guy.
Like I said, then Lucy struggles forever to tell Max
Yeah.
that her dad is the one to bomb Sandy Shores.
Mhm,
And I'm like, you just spit like one. Okay, now he's already out. You know he's out. Max just let him free. So now your dad's free. You already wasted the opportunity to tell him don't free him. But now he's free. You don't have time to be like, well, my dad. Just tell him, kill the man.
Yeah.
But and then Max leans into being slow and stupid because then he's told the man you just freed is the guy who killed your parents.
Yep.
And once again, another person just got his head fucked. Just learned that the girl that he's apparently in love with, her father is the reason he's a orphan. Sure, I get that's a head fuck. A lot going on, a lot to cope with. But you also just freed the man.
Yeah.
So
And by the way,
we don't
while
have
they're
time.
freaking out,
Yes.
for some reason, Hank just finds some
Well,
errant power
no.
armor.
That it's not for some reason. That's the part of the stupidity of Maximus showing up. It's when he shows up, the door opens and you see a headless power armor walk in,
Oh.
and then Max drops it. It's like somehow he was able to walk it and use it to hide behind.
Interesting.
Like so
Okay.
Max brought the power armor into the room. So it's not. But the thing that gets me is I'm like, power armor takes a lot to get in and out of. You cannot do this quietly.
Yeah.
I'm like, how are two people standing in this room while dad is putting on power armor and they're so caught up in their confusion that they don't hear the man who is literally the progenitor of all their problems and the biggest threat to their livelihood getting into a suit of power armor. And what makes it even worse is like, say, okay, fine. Maybe somehow you can stealthily put on a suit of power armor. They literally so in the scene in the background while they're staring at each other, the dad stands up and it's making full noise at this point. You hear and you hear him walk around, and they still don't recognize until the dad speaks and says, "Lucy, you're coming with me." That's when finally they snap out of it. I'm just like, what is going on? What the fuck is going on? Because I'm just like, how did you not hear that? How did you even let this happen? But then, for me, and this was the scene that broke me, comes the dumbest thing. Is Maximus turns to shoot the dad.
Yep.
The dad, and I watched this scene multiple times. I slowed it down. I paused it just to make sure I wasn't missing something. The dad, wearing power armor at this point, punches him full force in the head, enough to lift him off the ground and send him flying sideways. And then his head smashes into a metal thing. I'm like, if you're getting punched, I was like, he's dead. I was like, he's dead. And at one point, I thought, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, he is dead. I thought, like, Lucy almost seemed like...
Or serious brain damage.
Yeah, if you're not dead, you're eating through a straw and you're learning how to form vowels again and stuff. But yeah, so I was like, okay, Maximus is dead. And I was okay. But once it was obvious he wasn't dead, I was like, no, there's no way. There is no... You get punched in the head. We've seen what power armor can do. We've seen how strong it is. Just the fact of getting punched in the head by it is already going to mess you up, probably kill you. But the fact that then your head was received by a metal pillar, you're dead or brain damaged and never going to speak again. And the fact that he just wakes up and is like, oh, what's going on? It's like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I just was like, no, like this whole episode
video
was,
game, Donnell.
This whole episode was well. If someone
like,
would have given him a
only
stim
brought
pack,
down to one health, you know.
well, like I said, if he would have pulled out a stim pack or someone would have stim packed him, I might be able to.
There was
accept
not enough stim pack use in this show.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, oh, okay. So this show decided to go completely stupid in the last episode.
Anyway, the ghoul shows up.
Yeah,
they have a talk, and the ghoul's like, "Look, you can stay here, and they're gonna take over,
Mm-hmm.
or you can come with me, and we can go find out the truth." he does show up. He shoots the dad in the face.
Yeah.
And then the dad
Misses.
like just jumps away and flies
Rockets away.
Yeah.
Which once again, I'm just like, you just had the ghoul slaughter a room full of knights.
Yeah.
He can't pull off the one. Oh wait, that's right.
Well, his whole idea
wasn't.
he wasn't
I forgot.
trying
I
to
wrote
kill
that
him.
down. I realized
he was trying. He was like
he wanted to find out where he'd go because
you can
he's
follow the wounded guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that didn't make sense at first. But
anyway, she shoots her mom.
Yep. Which
putting her
to
out of her
me, I was
misery.
like, okay, she's 100% made the transformation now.
And then they decide we just show them like walking off together.
Yep.
And whatnot. And then we get a brief before credit scene. It almost seems like it should be an after credit scene.
Yeah.
Of Hank walking over a cliff
and seeing
New Vegas.
Destroyed.
This pissed off a ton of people because it, I don't remember all the endings for New Vegas, but apparently this should not be a scenario where he could do that.
Yeah.
We do see a razor claw, like skeletal head.
Yeah.
On the ground. I feel like we needed a razor claw in the first season, but I guess we'll probably get one because New Vegas had a lot of razor claws.
Yeah.
We'll see that in that season. And then it ends.
Yep.
No after credits, no nothing.
Nope. So one thing I brought up last week, and I feel like more so confirmed this week. I mean, we did see the New Vegas destroyed, but I really think that when the dad blew up Sandy Shores, it wasn't nukes. Because I looked this up. I was like, I mean, like I said, maybe they're just trying to it, but nuclear radiation, they do it for the deadly levels to dissipate is, I think they said it's like up to 6 to 7 days. So the really deadly stuff. And then for the rest of it to dissipate takes 10 years. And so the fact that Maximus isn't a ghoul, especially since he was in a fridge and he got out pretty soon, I'm imagining, after it, because he said he was there, and I don't think he was in that fridge for a week. I was just like,
took some rat away.
If he got out during the deadly stuff, well, that rat away is great, but like, when you're walking around, sometimes you see like 0.5 radiation pressure, or sometimes you see 10. This would be like 1,000 rads per second when you first. So I was like, there's no way Maximus. And that's my last thing I wanted to bring up is like, there's so much of this show now looking back at it that like I just like. Maximus would have been dead at so many different points in this show. So many different points.
He's got plot armor.
He has so much plot armor. Like I said, he should have died at Sandy Shores. He didn't. He should have died with his.
It's like you try and shoot him in the face, and the game's like, you're not allowed to take this action. or taking this action will significantly impact gameplay.
Yeah.
Hey, did you ever like in 4 go and like shoot the old man like right when you walk into the underground base, and it's just like, okay, leave.
Yeah.
Because at that point I knew like what was happening and like who he was, but I'm just like, what happens if I shoot him in the face? What are they gonna do? Did the writers build this in and they're just like, okay, bye, leave, you're done.
Like, all right,
no more story for you.
You're done.
Last episode and its issues notwithstanding, this was a great series.
Yes.
I cannot wait for season
7
2.
episodes of just...
I need more Walton Goggins.
Yes.
Just fantastic. I thought the actress who played Lucy did a fantastic job coming off of Yellow Jackets. Not a fan of the Max character or whatnot, but maybe, he'll do something interesting in the next one. Other than the writing and the story, just made the set design and the direction. The production value is so good.
Much right with like and like you said at the beginning, and it wasn't like ham-fisted or just smashed in your face when they introduced things that are nostalgic. It was like, no, it just felt natural. It felt good. Like, so they just got so much right. That's why, like I said, like this last episode, any other show, I'd be like, oh, it ruined the show for me. But I was like, this show was just so good and so well done throughout. I was like, nah, even with that last episode, I'm still like, I'll watch it again. I don't know if I'll watch the last episode again because I know what happened, so I don't need to. But I'll watch it again, and I definitely am looking forward to season 2.
There's definitely details you notice when you watch it the second time around. Just because you're not paying attention to the story, you're watching all the background stuff that's going on, and that's a lot of fun. But anyway, anybody who hasn't watched the show, I don't know why you're what you're doing here, but go watch the show on Netflix. No, Netflix? Amazon. And also play Fallout 3. Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 4, all fantastic games. The older ones are kind of just old, and whatnot. But 4 is really good. It's the 3 is kind of dated, but it's the funnest one in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's got that funny option, which you should definitely pick. But yeah, as always, you can find us on our website, watchinitpod.com. There you can find links to our social media and to email us, watchinitpodcast@gmail.com. Donnell, what else should they do?
Well, we have a special coming for you guys, a special episode. We had a guest, Bob. I can't remember.
Yeah, Bob from Static Radio.
Yeah, Bob from Static Radio. We had him on. We covered the movie Brazil.
First time Donnell seeing Brazil.
It is something else.
Yeah, I didn't know that at the time.
It is something else. It's definitely something I'm going to rewatch because I'm going to have to.
You gotta.
But yeah, we did a great
times.
episode. It's also going to be video, so you get to see me and Robert, and you get to see Bob's avatar.
To see that. I need an avatar. That's where I'm at. I'm with Bob on that one.
But anyways, yeah. So that's going to be up next week. Check that out. I will give you a warning. It is a long one, folks.
Yeah.
It is a long one.
It should have been multiple episodes because when I did more notes for one movie than I do for entire seasons of a show.
I was writing a book.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so give that a watch. Also, go over to Static Radio. We're over there. I mean, it's going to be a few backs at this point, but check us out over there. We had a great time with Bob.
Yeah, we'll probably get Bob on again for sure. He's a great guest.
And after that, we're going to have another guest episode with a Hollywood director-producer. I will say it's not like a huge name, so don't be thinking.
Hey, look, he has an IMDb page. He has many credits.
I'm very impressed. I'm just saying, I just don't want people to think they got Christopher Nolan.
He's doing he's doing better than us.
Oh, he's doing way better than us.
I mean, I like to think that if we put out if we carpet bombed Hollywood,
yeah,
and we're like, that sounds bad the way I say it, but if we were if we sent out a bunch of emails to everyone, and we're like, hey, we're a tiny podcast, would you like to come do our show? We'd love to talk to you. I bet.
Oh,
we would get somebody.
Yeah.
There's some A-list.
Yeah, there's definitely some celebrities who would be like, yeah.
Dave Bautista might just be like, I got nothing going on today.
I got nothing going on this Saturday. Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. I feel like that's a Chris Hemsworth thing, or the dude who plays Superman.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I'd love to have Henry Cavill on. We
could jive with Henry Cavill.
It'd be so much
fun. He's a nerd.
That's the thing is, when he first got introduced into Hollywood,
he would come over and we would start doing the podcast. He would look at my board game shelf and he's like, "Do we need to talk?
Yeah,
can we just play
about a game?" I mean, that would be the podcast of us playing a game with Henry Cavill. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's what I was saying. When he first got introduced into Hollywood, I was like, "Oh, he's just another good-looking guy, muscle man." And then I started finding about all his Warhammer and his comic assassin.
Dude, I love that.
And I was just like, "Oh, this is my guy."
I love that clip where someone's like, "Hey, what's your nerd thing?" And he's like, "Oh," he gets super excited. And he's like, he says Warhammer 40,000. I'm like, "Excuse me, Henry, it's 40K."
40K.
Okay, but he's like super. He's like, "That is my jam." And then there's another guy. He's like, "Oh, what are you playing right now?" And he's like, "Blah blah blah." And he's like, "Oh, I'm playing this." And then he's just like, "Well, should we?" And he's like, "Yes." And it's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll call you." It's like they just made a bro date to play Warhammer 40K. I'm like, that's fantastic.
Anyways, we don't have any Cavill coming, but we do have a Hollywood director, producer coming on, and we're going to discuss some short films. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one.